good kids. We always think, who knows if they're good? We think they're good because they're our kids, right? And they'll always be kids to us. So thank you very much, everybody. You know, we have 9,000 people outside, exactly, trying to get in, so that means you folks are better at real estate than they are. Well, it's an honor, and we are going to make America great again. There's so many things we can do so quickly. You know, I look at the numbers, and the numbers, whether it's Pennsylvania, whether it's New York State, we had a tremendous victory last week in New York. Tremendous. Far greater than all of the dishonest media predicted. Even they said it was tremendous, what they said. They are dishonest. There's no question about that. Seriously. But here's what I do. I always come out and I say, give me the information on whatever state. We were in Delaware. We're all over. We spent yesterday in Maryland. It was unbelievable. We had an unbelievable crowd. We had this massive airplane hangar, and I want to tell you, it was packed with people that couldn't even get in. There's something going on, folks. You know, there is a movement going on like they've never seen. And I say it. Bill O'Reilly last week said, in his lifetime, this is one of the most important, he actually said the single greatest political event that he's ever seen. It's you. I'm a messenger. It's you. It's you. And we're gonna take our country back, and we're gonna make it great for everybody. Not just this. We're gonna make it great for everybody. We're gonna bring jobs. We're gonna bring our companies back. We're not gonna let foreign countries steal our companies and destroy our jobs. We're not going to let it happen anymore. So here's the story. We're going to go through this quickly because this is extremely depressing. But that's going to be okay. See all the red hats and even the white hats? It says Make America Great, because we're going to do it. It's a message of optimism. It's a message. Somebody said, well, that's such a depressing message, Make America Great Again. I said, no, it's not depressing. It's the exact opposite, because that's what we're going to do. We're making America great again. That's an optimism. And he said, yeah, I guess that's true. So Pennsylvania has taken harder hits. This is statisticians do this. I don't do this. They say, tell me a little bit, how are we doing in Pennsylvania? That's all right. She looks like a nice person. She can't scream too loud. Don't worry about it. You know, it's always my people that make the noise. We have somebody that does a little screaming. Always my people. Go ahead. Are you okay? Are you okay? She wants to make a little noise. You, the police in our country do an incredible job, and they So here's the story. Pennsylvania's taking hard hits, we already know. The state of Pennsylvania has lost more than 35% of its manufacturing jobs since 2001. That's unacceptable. We're going to bring jobs back, big league. Now, 2001, that was when Congress voted, 2001, voted to put China into the World Trade Organization, and they're sucking the life out of us, and that's going to stop. And I don't blame China. I don't blame China. I do business with China. They're great, wonderful. We can do such, I've done such great deals with China. I don't blame China. I blame our politicians for being incompetent. And this guy, Lion Ted Cruz, supports Chinese currency. He supports Chinese currency. And Kasich is just as bad. Oh, by the way, did you see they joined forces? I've been doing this for 10 months, and these two guys are politicians all their lives. That's all they do. and now they joined forces, and you kept hearing, oh, they're doing well, they're doing well. I have millions of votes more than each one of them. Despite the fact that the system is totally rigged, and it is rigged, it's a bad system. We have hundreds and hundreds of delegates more. This is supposed to be an incredible weekend. You must go out and vote tomorrow. And you know what you gotta do? You gotta vote for that Trump slate. This is a little more complicated over here. We have a slate of people, and you gotta vote for the slate. Look, they said, oh, Mr. Trump, could you please mention, look at this, can you believe it? It used to be you could just vote. I like to just vote, but they say vote for the slate. So you got 3 slates, vote for those slates. My son Eric said, please do that, Dad. I said, okay, son, am I okay with that, Eric? Good, good. It's crazy. Look, when you have millions of votes more, it's supposed to get, it's supposed to be yours. It's a rigged system. It's a crooked system. It's as crooked almost as Hillary Clinton. She's crooked. Just to finish this up, so with Pennsylvania, in other words, you're losing your jobs, you're losing your base, you're losing your manufacturing. We're going to turn it around. It's not going to happen anymore. Foreign-born population, a lot of that, they're bringing in people from Syria. You don't know it. It's coming all over the country. We don't know where they're from. We don't know where they come from. There's no documentation. There's no paperwork. There's no nothing. Who knows where they're from? And we all have big hearts, and we want to build safe zones in Syria, and I'll get the Gulf states to pay for it. They have plenty of money. This country doesn't have plenty of money. Believe me. We owe $19 trillion. We're going to owe $21 trillion very soon. I will get, and we're going to turn our country around so fast. Our military is going to be amazing. It's being depleted. It's being depleted. At the worst possible time. You look what China's doing with building islands in the South China Sea. You look at Russia, they're building forts all over the place. They're expanding their nuclear capability. We have stuff we don't even know if it works. We have to bring, maybe more than ever before, honestly, maybe more than ever before, we're going to undeplete our depleted military. We're going to make it bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and nobody's going to mess with us. And you know what? We're never going to have to use it. Other than we have to knock out ISIS. We're going to have to knock it out. We're going to do so many things, but we do. Some people said, Trump is the tough guy, and he's the toughest. I'm sort of honored. By the way, did you see the poll that just came out? We're tied with Hillary Clinton all of a sudden. That didn't take long. I don't like being tied with her. But, I get a kick out of Kasich. He goes around saying that he's beating her in the polls. By the way, did you ever see a man eat like this? I'm always working with my son. Little tiny pieces, Baron, little tiny pieces. This guy's shoving pancakes. I never saw anything like it. It's pouring out of his mouth, and the cameras are on him. I don't know. Look, that's not presidential, I can tell you. Not presidential. So what happened? So we're going to straighten this out. These are all bad statistics, and I just want to tell you, folks, see that? Doesn't mean a thing. Because we're not going to let your jobs disappear anymore. If companies want to move out, they want to go to Mexico and other countries, and they want to fire all your people, so that people now, wages, when people say it's unbelievable what's happening to Trump, it's really not. Wages from 18 years ago, you have people that did better 18 years ago. You have people that now have 2 jobs, and they did better 18 years ago than they're doing right now. They're working harder. It's supposed to be the opposite, right? And they're working harder now than they've ever worked, and they're making less money. Their wages effectively are down from what they were many years ago. And guess what, folks? We're going to turn that around. We're going to turn it around fast, okay? We're going to turn it around. We're going to turn. I think it's disgusting. I'm going to Indiana after this. That'll be big. And Indiana's a great place. And hopefully we get Bobby Knight's endorsement. Would that be good? The great Bobby Knight. That would be good. I would think that's the gold-plated endorsement of Indiana, but hopefully. But he's a great guy. And he was so nice to me on something, and hopefully we do. But we're going to Indiana, and they have a company in Indiana, as you know. What's the name of that air conditioning company? Carrier. I don't buy them anymore. I won't buy them anymore. So they had some upper mid-level management guy firing 1,400 people saying we're moving to Mexico. And it was taken, and somebody had one of these cell phones going. So the guy ended up being all over the world on television, firing pretty viciously 1,400 people that have been there. They come to my rallies in Indiana, and they've been there for years. One said he was there for 27 years. One was there for 16 years. One was there for 4 years, 5 years. And these are great jobs, and these are important people. You have to explain to these companies. You leave us, you fire all of our people, you think you're going to go to Mexico and other places, make equipment and sell it back across what will be very strong borders. There will be consequences. There will be consequences. You won't do that. You're not doing it. Now if I see, well, we'll build a wall, don't worry about it. No, I see Lion Ted Cruz the other day said, we must build a wall. You know, this guy. I watched him this morning. So they bind together, and I wrote out a little thing. I thought it was great. I was really happy. I get a call 11:30 last night. And being a non-sleeper, a lot of you folks are non-sleepers, I said, let's do something. So we wrote it out. Donald Trump's statement, Cruz and Kasich. Now, let's call Kasich. Kasich is doing worse than many of the people that left months ago. I mean, if you look at Marco Rubio, he did much better than Kasich. He had more, he to this day has more delegates. This is just a guy who's a stubborn guy who eats like a slob. I'm not leaving. He's won for 42. And I would have won the one, but I was given a dirty poll by NBC where they came up with a poll. Because I thought I was winning Florida by a lot. This is a dirty business, this politics. I used to think real estate was tough. Real estate is like babies, all right? And nobody lies like some of the people I've seen, especially Lion Ted. Nobody. He's not a good liar because he always gets caught. You know, he's not a good liar, but boy, is he lying. But you know, when I look at what goes on, here's a guy, Kasich. First we'll do Kasich, because that one's sort of easy. So what happens with Kasich? He just says, I'm staying. Oh, but you lost. You got killed last week in New York. You're getting, like, what is he getting? 13% of the vote. He doesn't, not even, you're right. And all he does is say, I don't care, I'm staying. Don't ask me that question again. And people say, oh, isn't he a nice guy? That's because Cruz and I and others and Marco, well, we all went at it pretty tough. And nobody cared about Kasich. So we just left him. And all of a sudden, he started getting the image like he's a nice guy. He's not a nice guy. Take a look at the early debates, the way he came after me. And the way I said, but you headed up Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers almost brought down the country. You were on Lehman Brothers when Lehman Brothers crashed. He was a managing director. I said, Lehman Brothers almost brought down the country. What the hell are you doing running for president? That almost brought down the country. And you know, it's an amazing thing. After that, I never heard from him again. He was very nice during the debates. I love the debates. You know, Cruz is going on, oh, I want to debate Donald Trump. I've been debating him 11 times. We've beaten him 11 times according to every single poll. And you say to yourself, how many times can you answer the same question about the same people? But I'll tell you what. I watched this morning both of these guys who didn't even talk about jobs. They didn't even talk about the economy. They didn't even talk about the wall, or they didn't talk about... And all of a sudden I watched Cruz this morning. I will bring back jobs. Jobs. He doesn't know what the word means. This guy's in favor of China manipulating their currency and devaluing their currency, which is the single biggest problem our country has in terms of trade. That's why China has a $505 billion a year. We have deficit with China. Okay, think of it. $505 billion. Mexico, $58 billion. Japan, you wouldn't believe the number. I won't even say it because you'll start to cry. We don't make good deals. Our country doesn't make good deals anymore. And you know, I'll tell you what, I told the story the other day for the first time, and it's important. A friend of mine is a very strong person. Great person, but a very, very strong person. In many ways. Up here too, mentally. And he's very sick. And he was supposed to die a year ago.
and he keeps living. And he's amazing. And I call him, and I say, hey, how you doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm telling you, I'm doing. And the doctors can't believe it, and nobody can believe it, and he's just in trouble. And you know what it is? He was born with great genes. There's something unbelievable about this guy. And it reminds me of our country in a certain way. Because the way our politicians are destroying our country, for us to even exist, with 19 trillion in debt going up to 21 trillion, with budget deficits all over the place, with all bad trade deals. We have no trade deals that are any good. They're all bad. They're all controlled. You know, I'm self-funding my campaign. I'm putting up my own money, okay? These guys, it's a lot of money, too. I want to tell you, it's a lot of money. Although I will say this, I have spent less than anybody else, essentially, but I have spent less than anybody else, and I'm in first place by a lot. And other guys have spent many, many times what I've spent, and they were number 6 and 7 and 8. And the other thing, remember this, we're now getting, like in New York, I got 61 or 62%. That's a massive thing when you have 3 people. But remember this, we started off with 17 people. And I'd win with 28. I'd win New Hampshire, I think, with 32 or something. 32%. With 16 people I was competing against. He had 17, but I'd win all these states, and they'd say, he didn't get 50%. You can't get 50% when you have 14 people, 10 people, 8 people, 6 people, 4 people. I mean, all of these things. And now, even now, we have 3 people. We have 3 people. And it's very hard, and yet I'm now getting, I think I would have had 70, 75% if we had a normal. This was the largest number of candidates ever to run in the history of a party, let alone the Republican Party, 17 people, which is ridiculous. So think about it. When you watch these really bad pundits on television, when they say, Donald Trump has not gotten 50%, and I have 9 guys, it's almost impossible. So folks, we are doing so well. Again, millions and millions of votes more than Lion Ted, millions and millions of votes more than 1 in 42 Kasich. I call him now 1 in 42 because he has 1 win, and I think they said 42 losses. That's a lot. We're moving along pretty rapidly, but he has a lot of losses, a lot of losses. So we are doing fantastically well. And a poll just came out saying, you know, already. And remember this, they want me to, some people say presidential, all that. I think I'm president. I think, do I look presidential? I've got to be afraid of being too presidential. You know what? I've knocked off 16, 1, 2, really smart people. I mean, you beat one, another, one after another. A governor, a senator, another governor, another senator. And then they say, oh, you should be more presidential. I've got to be careful not to be too presidential, folks, you know. So it's been so much fun. It's been so interesting. But then I get a call last night, and they said, sir, Cruz and Kasich have just joined forces. I said, oh, really? They did, huh? That's called collusion. Collusion. You know, a lot of businesses, if you collude, it's illegal. Only in politics can you do stuff like this. So I wrote out a very, I think it was pretty good, not bad. You know, I did it at 11:30 in the evening. I mean, who's doing this at 11:30? I said, it's sad that 2 grown politicians have to collude against 1 person who has only been a politician, I hate to say that about myself, for 10 months in order to try and stop that person from getting the Republican nomination, when millions and millions of people more have voted for me than anybody else. Senator Cruz has done very poorly, and after his New York performance, which was a total disaster, by the way, what did he get, like 10% or some? He got nobody. How's he going to win a general election if he has almost nobody in New York with him? Lion Ted, he's Lion Ted. And Cruz is in a free fall. And as everyone has seen, he does not react well under pressure. You ever notice him under pressure? It's like a basket case. Also, approximately 80% of the Republican Party is against him. If you look, his average, about 80%, I think it's more than that, they're against him. Governor Kasich, who has only 1 state, he's only won 1 state, and I was going to tell you. So when I got this dirty poll, you know what a dirty poll is? That's a crooked poll. Now maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But I thought I was winning Florida like by 17, 18 points. All of a sudden, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, that never treat me well, both of them, they came out with this poll right before the election, 2 days. And it said, Trump falling, like I'm in a free fall. I said, man, this is bad. I was winning by 17 points. Now they have me at 6. I'm telling you, it was a dirty poll. That means a poll that was not exactly too good, right? You got to check out who picks the little things out of the hat. So all of a sudden, I'm going from 17 or 16% down to 6. I said, oh, I got to stay in Florida. I won't be able to go to Ohio. If I spent 1 more day or 2 more days in Ohio, I would have won. Then what happens is I go around Florida, and the numbers come out, and I win by almost 21% in a landslide. And I said, that was a dirty poll. If I would have spent 2 more days in Ohio, I would have won. Okay, enough of that. But listen, in other words, he's 1 for 41. And he's not even doing as well as other candidates, which I told you, who could have stubbornly stayed in the race. Hey, Chris Christie, who endorsed me. Ben Carson, who endorsed me. These guys are great guys. They could have stayed in the race. They could have said, I'm not leaving. Next day. This is what this guy does. He's not leaving under any circumstance. You know the funny thing? They made a deal, right? That Cruz was going to take Indiana. How weak is that? How pathetic is it when they use collusion? How weak does this make them look? I said to my people, that's great. It's going to make them look weak and pathetic, which they are as politicians, okay? I said, how weak, how pathetic is that, right? So here's what happens this morning, you probably saw it. So they made a deal. But like every politician, they don't know how to make deals. So they make a deal. And Cruz is all thinking that Kasich doesn't want any votes from Indiana. Indiana, the people are too smart to listen to this stuff. And I think it's going to have a huge reverse effect. I really do. So, but Kasich this morning said, what are you talking about? I want people in Indiana to vote for me. In other words, he broke the deal. He broke the deal. This is politicians, folks. They're all talk, no action. They'll never get you there. And you look at Ohio, it's right in the middle of the pack. There's nothing spectacular. They lost their coal industry, their steel industry is down the tubes. They're right in the middle. If you look at the states around Ohio, it's in the middle of the pack. Nothing special. So that's the story. Okay. Now, but it is true. Marco Rubio could have stayed. He could have said, well, I'm not getting out. Just like a spoiled guy, Kasich. I'm not getting out, Mom. I'm not getting out. I'll never. Kasich loses all 5 states. I'm not getting out. I'm going for it. This is just ridiculous. Now, the other people, whether it's for their own good or for the good of the party, they got out. They said, there's no path. By the way, Kasich and Cruz have absolutely no path to victory. The only thing they can do is hope that for some reason it goes to a second ballot, which it won't, because we're going to get it on the first ballot. And I get a kick. We're not even really competing for this stuff. You read all the stuff about the delegates and Cruz's team. That has nothing to do with the first ballot. That has to do with the second, third, fourth, fifth. And they say, where is Trump? Where is he? I don't care about the second, third, fourth, fifth ballot. We're going to win in the first ballot. And here's the reason. Because let's assume, and I don't think this can happen, because if you look at the numbers, we're going to win. But, oh, get out of here. Who is that? Go home to Mom. So look. Yeah, you can get him out. Go ahead, take him out. So you read in the newspapers all the time, you'll say, oh, the delegates with Chris. He's going for second, third, fourth, fifth ballot. It doesn't matter. But let me say, supposing it actually happened. So supposing it actually, by the way, the safest rallies and the safest places to be anywhere in our country are at Trump rallies, believe me. Because we look after each other, and I'm telling you, there's love in these rooms, and we're going to bring that love to the whole country. If you look at what's happening with employment, the African-American employment, African-American youth, 59% unemployment. African Americans much, much higher than anybody else. Hispanics doing terribly with the employment. I'm going to bring jobs back, folks. We're going to have a unified country. We're going to have a unified country. Remember, we're going to have unification. We're going to have a country we're all going to be proud of. Everybody in the country, not a group. Everybody in the country. Everybody. So, good. So look, if you, let's say it went to a second or third ballot, and let's say Trump is 5 million votes more, you know, I don't know if you know this, probably the hottest party anywhere in the world. You know, you don't think of the Republican Party as hot. It's been rather staid for many years. Romney lost last time. That was not a pretty picture. He should have won. But Romney lost, and badly, by a lot. People stayed home. They weren't inspired. He didn't have crowds like that. He doesn't have crowds like that. Believe me. And by the way, I'll win places like New York. I'll win Michigan. I'll win places. We're going to win Pennsylvania in the general. We're going to win Virginia, although did you see what they just did? They let out 200,000 prisoners where they have the right to vote. I just heard this. In other words, they're going to all vote Democrat. And they let out and have given the rights, they've given the rights to people that were serious criminals. People that committed horrendous crimes, like at the top level. And they're going to let those people vote because Virginia is very close. So they're going to let 200,000 people vote for the first time ever, and some of these people have committed horrible, horrible crimes. This is the world of politics. This is why, and even Bernie Sanders, I'm no Bernie Sanders fan, but I'll tell you why. You see how many victories does he have, and then you see that he's losing. I remember he had a spell, but now he's over. Look, we don't want to have a communist in that position, do we? Besides that, honestly, I want to run against Hillary. Crooked Hillary, we won't do a number with Hillary. I mean, we're totally focused on these two guys. Let's get them out of there fast. You got to get out and vote. I'll tell you, Pennsylvania, you got to get out and vote. I spent years of my life in this state. You better vote for me. But we're going to have an amazing thing. But here's the thing. So supposing it did go. Oh, and then you'll read in these papers like the Washington Post, Trump with the... We don't even send people. Because we want to win the right way on the first ballot. And we should win on the first ballot. You certainly should win on the first ballot when you're millions of votes ahead. You certainly should win when the Republican Party is considered one of the hottest political parties anywhere in the world, when it's the biggest subject in the world, when voting is up almost 70% from 4 years ago. People are coming out to vote like they've never voted before. In New York, where we had a massive victory, where I got almost 100% of the delegates, there were 95 development, we almost got every one of them. Unbelievable. Even the press said that was unbelievable, okay? And you know the nice part about New York? They know me. They know me. What's really nice, if they gave you a bad review, bad numbers, they know you. They gave me unbelievable numbers, far greater than even the polls suggested. So there's something nice when they know you and they like you, because nobody knows me better than New York, as well as I know Pennsylvania and as well as I know Florida. But nobody knows me, and they gave us that, big boost of confidence. So it was great. But remember this. When you're in the second, third, fourth ballot, they're trying to pick up all these people in the second, third, fourth, fifth, hoping. They're like short sellers in the second. I never like short sellers. They're the people that bet against the economy. They buy stocks going against the economy. They're never nice people. Well, Cruz is betting that, if he doesn't make it, I can get it. Here's the problem. Supposing you're the, let's say Reince Priebus, who's a nice man, by the way. He really is. Okay? And the Republican National Committee. Now, so let's say Trump is 25 short. If I'm 25 short, I'll get him. Even if I'm 100 short, I'll get him. But I think we're going to do it easily. But let's say you're 25 short. Okay, now we'll go to the second ballot, and we'll put somebody in there because he went around and bought people yachts, yacht rides, and steaks, and hotels, and hotel rooms, and all the things that they're doing. They're buying an election. It's a crooked system. It's a rigged system. It stinks, okay? But let's say we go to the second, and I beat him by 4 or 5 million votes, okay? Because right now I'm already, I think, 2.5 million up. I beat him because California, you see the numbers? I'm at 49, they're at like 20, California. And that's a big one. In Indiana, we were down in Indiana 3-4 weeks ago by 10 points. Now we're up by 8 points. Because people see the smart people. I'm the one that's going to bring back jobs. I've been talking about Carrier air conditioning for 6 months. And they're based in Indiana. And the people of Indiana see that. So now we're up in Indiana, and I think we're going to do well in Indiana. But how do you put a guy, assuming he came to the second ballot, and you're the head of the Republican National Committee, how do you allow a guy that because one person is 50 votes, 25 votes, 2 votes short of the 1237, the famous 1237. So now you're going to allow a guy who got absolutely decimated by Trump. Millions of votes, many, many states. I think I'm at 24. After tomorrow, I should be. I don't want to say that I'm leading in every one because I am. Big league. Wait, is this wood or is this Formica? This is wood. Okay. We want to knock over. This is real wood. Nice college, by the way. This is a beautiful college. And won't it be nice when I create jobs? So that when you get out of college, you're going to get yourself great jobs instead of lousy jobs. And we're also going to help you with student loans because students are being absolutely decimated by student loans. It's one of the questions I get the most when I go to college is student loans. So we're going to work on that because we have to help. It's too much. It's not fair. It's just not a good situation. Okay, so we're going to help. But the biggest thing of all is you're going to have so many jobs to choose from when you get out. So just hang in there, kids. Work hard, study hard, do well, get to be the top of your class because you should do better than the guy that's not doing as well or the woman that's not doing as well. So just hang in. You're going to love it. But how do you vote for a guy who has lost by 4 or 5 million votes, who is hundreds and hundreds of delegates down, who has lost, let's say I'll have 40 states, 32 states, 35, and they'll have like 13, 14, and now we're going to pick the guy. So we're going to pick a guy that over a year got creamed, right? Got creamed. And we're going to let him, because, so you explain how that's done. You would have a revolt. You would have, at a minimum, nobody, all these millions of people that have joined the Republican Party, which makes it so hot. All of these people will never vote. Believe me, they will never vote for anybody, probably, but they certainly won't be voting for Republicans. So it would make it impossible, like they talk about Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan doesn't want it for one reason. Because if Paul Ryan never got it, all of the people that came in to vote for Trump would never vote, and it's impossible for a Republican to win. Don't forget, the path for a Republican, in terms of president, is much tougher, much tighter. It's a much harder path than it is for a Democrat. Both positions and lots of other things. It makes it very much harder. But we have something special. We have, and I won't say because of me, but it is because of me, okay? Honestly, it's because of you. You want to know the truth, it's because of you. I'm giving you the message, and it's the same message that everybody has been hearing. I mean, we've been getting creamed, we've been getting killed with jobs. They're just taking our jobs. So I want to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to straighten it out. We're going to straighten out our military. You know, our military is being depleted horribly. We're going to build up our military. We're going to make it bigger, better, stronger than ever before. Nobody's going to play games with us. Nobody's going to mess with us. We're going to take care of our vets because our vets are being taken care of terribly. We're going to take care of our vets.
I'm good.
We are going to get rid of Common Core, and we're going to bring education local. You know, I don't know, I say this because there's so many young, incredible people. And you know, they always talk about, Bernie Sanders has young people. I have such young people. I mean, look at these people. Look at this. I have young people. I mean, this is understandable to me, but not to a lot of people, because you know, Bernie Sanders is finished. He's continuing to go forward, but he's finished. And honestly, unless Hillary gets indicted, which, in all fairness, she should be, but, you know, I mean, people have done far less than her on the same issue, and their lives have been destroyed. So let's see what happens with the emails, okay? Let's see, and foundation and all of that stuff. But unless that happens, Bernie Sanders has really, you know, you look at what he's done, he's won, and supposedly he's always losing, right? He's always losing. He wins and he's always losing. But we're going to have so much fun. Remember this, education to me has always been very important. Penn was a great school. Wharton is the best, in my opinion, the best business school in the world. Almost as good as yours, right? It's a good school. Wharton is the best business school in the world. one of the hardest schools to get into. And I will tell you, no matter how you take it, no matter how you look at it, education in this country, we spend more money per pupil than any country in the world by far, okay, by far. And yet, in the 30 countries that they check, you have Sweden, Norway, Denmark, China, Japan, others are number 1, 2, 3, 4, different countries. The United States is number 30. So we're last on the list, but we're first in terms of cost per pupil. Not good. Do you agree? She's saying not good. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. And when I say first, I don't mean by a little bit. I mean we are first by so much I don't even talk about who's second. So education in the country is a disaster. We spend more and we get less. And it's a little like my campaign. I've spent less than anybody else of the major candidates. I've spent less by far. I mean, we have some, I won't mention names, they had funds $178 million, okay? So I've spent less than any other, I think I'm in for 40 million bucks. That's not exactly peanuts, okay? Look at these young guys, they think it's peanuts, you see? Just what? And I'll be in for a lot more than that. But look, I've spent less, and I'm by far number 1, right? Now, isn't that better than the person that spent the most and they're way down at the bottom of the heap? Who do you want as your president, folks? Who do you want as your president? So here's the story. So we're going to do a lot of things. When I came down that escalator with my wife, Melania, I came down and I looked downstairs and look at all those cameras lined up, all those lights on. We're all on live television. Wave to the dishonest reporters. But when I came down, I was talking about trade, which I can do so easily. We're going to make great trade deals. We're going to bring the jobs back. But I was talking about trade. I was talking about the military. I was talking about the borders, right? It turned out I was right. And these are issues that wouldn't have even been talked about for the most part in the campaign. They wouldn't have even been talked about. And now the borders are a big deal. You had Kate in San Francisco, killed by somebody that should have never been, came into the country 5 times, shot in the back. Great Kate. You had Jamil, killed violently. His father's a friend of mine in Los Angeles, in California. You had the woman vet, 65 years old, a great person, raped, sodomized, and killed. In California, right? And everybody sees it, but that's 3 people. This is all over. And it's all over. We're going to stop the crime. And by the way, we want people coming into our country, but they have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. Can't have this anymore. On top of that, drugs are pouring in through the southern border. They're pouring in. When I won New Hampshire, the people of New Hampshire, I'd go and meet them. And New Hampshire's a beautiful state. Beautiful trees, beautiful roadways, beautiful lakes. I said, what's your biggest problem? They said cocaine. I said, cocaine? How you look at this setting. What do you mean cocaine? It's their single biggest problem. And after being there for a couple of weeks, and I won New Hampshire, so I love the people of New Hampshire. I mean, they treated me so good. That was my first victory. Then I won South Carolina. I won Nevada. I won the South. I wasn't supposed to. I won Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Kentucky. I won so many. Amazing. The run. I won Louisiana. Then I found out I won Louisiana. That's the first time I got wise. I said, wait a minute. They show me all my victories. I say, how good am I? How good? But they showed me Louisiana. And I wasn't supposed to win Louisiana. I wasn't supposed to win the South. I won the South. In Alabama, I got almost 50%. We had landslides in the South. But Louisiana, I was not supposed to win. And I said, wow. I said, let's go down, because I know the people of Louisiana, they're great people. Let's go down and campaign a little bit, and maybe, who knows what happens. We went down. I made a couple of speeches. Then Friday night, and they had their election on a Saturday. On Friday night, I made a speech in this massive, massive airplane hangar, much, much bigger than this room. Much bigger than this room. Massive. It was packed, and there were people flowing out toward the runways, okay? I made a speech. There was so much love, so much enthusiasm. I said, why am I going to lose the state? The next day they voted, I won the state. Then they're showing me my victories, and alongside of Louisiana, they said Trump wins, but I had less delegates than Cruz, the guy who lost. I said, what kind of a system is this? That's the first time I ever really lie in tech. He can't win with the voters. See, he can't win with the voters. So the only thing he can do is try and grab delegates. So he's got these massive teams of people that bring people out for steak dinners and bring people into hotel rooms. It's really a bad system, folks, I'll tell you. But Louisiana, I owe a lot to it. So then I watched, and now we're watching. But here's the thing. Let's win on the first ballot. We win on that first line. That way we go. You know, I talk about prize fighters because you learn a lot about life by the prize fighters. There's a toughness there. And I was speaking to a champ, and he was going into unfriendly territory to fight a challenger, but the challenger had a great market, and it would have sold a few makes more money. I said, champ, you shouldn't do that, because you'll never get a decision, a fair decision. He said, no, sir, Mr. Trump. If I knock him out, there's not a damn thing the judges can do. And he knocked him out. And he picked up a big, great paycheck. I love the stories. I mean, there's so many great sports stories, right? But listen to this. So he knocks him out, picks. Now our knockout, there's nothing they can do because nobody can take our first ballots away. You know, we have all these first ballots. In Pennsylvania, they have a very interesting thing. We get like 17 out of a lot. That's bad. The good is, there is somewhat, and I've been told this by many people, there's a moral obligation that whoever wins the election, because hopefully we're going to have a big, big day tomorrow in Pennsylvania and the other places. But there's a moral obligation in Pennsylvania, it's the first time I've heard of it, that whoever wins the election on the first ballot gets all of the delegates. That's the way it should be. I mean, it should be more than the first ballot, but I'm not worried about beyond the first ballot. I'm not worried about beyond the first ballot because we're going to win it. And it's sort of like an amazing thing. Now, here's one thing I'll tell you. So a couple of people said presidential, and I gave a sporting analogy. It's like, do we want to change at this point? Do we want to change? Do I look like a president? How handsome am I, right? How handsome? Somebody said, he really does look good, but you know, I don't know if he's president. And I'm looking at this stage of people, my competitors. Does Hillary look presidential to you? Was she there at 3 o'clock in the morning to answer the call? No. And she won't be. She won't be. She won't be there. She doesn't have the strength and she doesn't have the energy to be president, I will tell you. In addition to that, Bernie Sanders said she has bad judgment, right? Bad judgment. And then he said worse than that, then he withdrew it. But he said she has bad judgment. She does. She voted in favor of the war in Iraq, which I was against, by the way. I was just a civilian, but I was against it because I knew it would destabilize the Middle East, right? But it's sort of interesting because they're talking about presidential. And then I think again to sports. You ever see these guys like hitters in baseball or golfers? A golfer comes out. He won the U.S. Amateur twice. He's the best golfer. He's going to be the next Jack Nicklaus. He's going to be the next Tiger Woods. He's got this great future. And he gets up and it's his first year on the PGA Tour. And guys start saying, you know, I don't like your swing. You ought to start changing your swing. Change your swing a little bit. Go ahead, change it. And he says, really, you think? Change your swing. And guess what? You never heard from him again. We can't change our swing too much, folks, right? You know, we had 17 people, 16, senator, governor, senator, governor, governor, senator. People, I tell you, people, great people, like Dr. Ben Carson, who was tough and smart and a good man. To win again, and then Ben endorsed me, who's a great guy. Chris Christie, I mean, you don't get tougher than Chris Christie, and he endorsed me. These are great people. But when you can win against all these governors and senators, and then they're saying, well, perhaps you should be more presidential. I'm saying, let's save it a little longer. You know, let's save it. Do we agree? Let's save it for a little while. You know, being presidential is much easier than what I'm doing here. No energy. No energy. Where does that sound familiar? Let's see. Low energy. But it's much easier. The problem is we have thousands of people. We have 9,000 outside listening to speakers. They'd all be gone. I'd have a row of about 3 people left and they'd be sleeping, all right? So we want to keep it going, but I will tell you something. We're going to be, if I'm elected, I will be a great president for the people of this country. A great president. I will bring back your jobs. I will do things because the fact is, that our country's not working anymore. Our country is really in bad shape. We have tremendous problems. We're sitting on a bubble, and it's a big bubble, and it's an ugly bubble, and it could explode. And the fact is, we don't win anymore. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to go to the polls tomorrow, and you're going to say, you're going to look back, and you're going to say, I was at this fantastic college where the air conditioning system was not devised for this many people in this room, so it was on the warm side. We'll each lose about 9 pounds, which is okay. A lot of you don't have to do that. With me, I'm okay with it. But you're going to remember this day, but you're going to remember, more importantly, tomorrow in the polls, you're going to go, you're going to vote, and you're going to vote for Donald Trump, hopefully. Who's going to vote for Donald Trump tomorrow? And you are going to look back in 2 years, in 5 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, in 40 years, and you're going to say that was the single greatest vote you ever cast. Because we don't win anymore as a country. We don't win with our military. We don't win with trade deals. We don't win at all. Because you're going to say, I'm going to win the general election. Kasich can't win. He'll get clobbered in the general election. Cruz will get clobbered. Cruz will be the worst defeat in the history of our country. I will win in the general election. Now here's the thing. We're going to start. She said, you better. I love you. You're right, I will. Hey, I'm not doing it. You know, I got a call from a great reporter, actually. A great thinker. Happens to be liberal, but every once in a while we can talk to them too, right? And he said to me, Mr. Trump, I didn't know him. How does it feel? I said, how does what feel? How does it feel to do what you've done? You know, I've been on the cover of the last 4 or 5 months on Time magazine many times. I'm on the cover of the New York Times all the time. I'm on the cover of the Washington Post. He said, how does it feel? I said, how does what feel? Why am I supposed to? He said, what you've done has never been done ever before in the history of our country. And O'Reilly said the same. So I said, I don't think I've done anything. He said, no. I said, look, if I lose, it was just a waste of time. He said, no, you don't understand. Even if you lose, what you've done has been amazing. Well, I'll tell the people in this room, and I told him, I totally disagree. If I don't win the nomination and win the general election, to do the kind of things that we're going to do to make America great again, I will not consider it a win. I will consider it a tremendous waste of time, energy, and money, although I got to know the most incredible people anywhere in my life, the most incredible people anywhere in the world. I love the people. We have the most loyal people, the Trump fans, and they cover it all the time in the polls. They cover it all the time. A woman, and I tell the story, a few nights ago, a woman is on television, and she's got the Trump thing and the hat and the whole thing, and she's got 10 or 12 of her girlfriends behind her, and beautiful ladies, just like 55, 60 years old. They said, so what is, one of the wise guys back there said, so what would it take for you to vote against Donald Trump? She said, stop. That man can do nothing that will cause me to vote against him. And everybody in the back, yes, absolutely. And you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to hug that television. But we have the most loyal people, by far. And everybody says it, it's in every poll. And I have to be very careful, because if I say something wrong, next day I have headlines, Trump said this, Trump said that, so I have to be very careful. Every poll says I have to. If Ted Cruz sneezes, he loses votes. There's no loyalty to him. Why would there be loyalty to him? I mean, there's no loyalty. The guy's been a lousy senator. He hasn't done a damn thing in the Senate. He thinks because he filibustered for 2 days, he stood up and he talked about nothing, and the other senators, let me tell you how life works. These are great people. You know, guys like Senator Sessions, who, by the way, is admired more than any other senator by Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz assumed he was going to get his endorsement. There's only one problem. Senator Jeff Sessions endorsed Donald Trump, right? So here's the story. He's a great senator. But these senators, so he's filibustering. Here's the senators. Hey, Jim, when's this joker getting off the floor? Wasted a lot of time. That's all he did. He wasted a day and a half. He didn't get it. He has been a total failure as a senator. He cannot build consensus. He doesn't even have anybody. He has one other guy endorsing him out of the Senate. I mean, think of it. You got 100 people. Obviously, you're not going to get too many Democrats. You got a lot of Republicans. And he's got like one guy endorsing him. That's pretty pathetic. Because he's never going to get anything done. But we're going to get it done. So you're going to say this was the single greatest vote that you've ever cast. Because when Trump took office, this country, our country that we love, started winning again. We started winning in trade. We started winning with our military. We're going to knock the hell out of ISIS and then come back to our country. We started winning with our vets. We're going to take care of our vets as part of the military. We won with the border. We have the wall. We stopped the drugs. We stopped illegal immigration. People come into the country legally. But we won with our border. We need a strong border. If we don't have a border, we don't have a country. We're going to win with our Second Amendment, which is under siege. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, which is a total disaster. And we're going to start winning again. You are going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. You are going to be so proud of your great country again. We are going to make America not only great again, but we have the potential to make America greater than ever before. Thank you, Pennsylvania. I love you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Pennsylvania. The crowd is on fire. It's absolutely electric in this room. Young people, old people, lots of college students. Donald Trump talked about all the points that are important to his platform. He talked especially about this collusion, as he calls the deal between Kasich and Cruz last night. We're going to see what happens. It's pretty sad when politicians get together to defeat a different politician as opposed to gaining votes and helping support the party. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump's on his way now to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. We're going to be in touch. We're going to stay on with the debates, the controversy, the conventions. We are broadcasting to you from Fox News Radio, WFYL 1180 AM. We are working for your liberty. I'm Daniel McCaughan. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This broadcast is brought to you by Trip Tonight and our sponsor, Quiddy Nutraceuticals. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. Follow us on Periscope. Follow us on YouTube.